random things with a not hot
All
dog
right,
app.
folks. What's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler, episode number 235. Today's episode is Managing WordPress with External Services. Let's go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. Jason Cosper, you're first.
Wow.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm Jason Cosper, and I am not a hot dog.
Not what this app says.
Let me find out. Wait, let me find out.
Joe, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody, I am Joe Howard. I am the head buff at WP Buffs, where we act as the CTO for people who run WordPress websites. Howdy.
Awesome. Good to have you on. John Brown.
Hi, I'm John Brown. I'm a digital nomad and WordPress agency owner at 9 Seeds, where we build custom WordPress sites for everybody.
Sweet. How about you, Robert?
My name's Robert, and I look just like everybody else on here. And I run Shiny 9 Web Design, and I'm lead organizer for WordCamp Las Vegas.
Sweet. Good to have you on. Russ, how about you?
My name's Russ. I work for a company called Web Dev Studios, and I don't have any funny quip because everybody else got to use theirs before me. Yeah.
There's all the funny quips in the world. They're all gone now.
What about you, Sarah?
They've all been used in about 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Weefald. I'm the project manager at Zeek Interactive.
Awesome. Good to have you on.
No quip.
How about you, Say?
I'm Say, and I'm not Steve Zingett, and I'm not a hot dog. I am not in a church. I do make WordPress, teach WordPress, preach WordPress, all the presses. Bye.
Awesome.
That's Avery Media.
Thanks for being on with us. Say, how about you, Steve?
I am Steve Zengit. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup. And I'm also the lead organizer of WordCamp Orange County, which is 3 weeks from tomorrow. And it's true, Jason Cosper. Yeah, Jason Cosper is not a hot dog.
That's where that
awesome. My name is Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter, and my site is jasontucker.blog. And we do a couple shows on WPwatercooler. Make sure you go check those out. Those happen on Thursdays as well as this one on Fridays. So go over to WPwatercooler.com and you can check out all the shows that are going on over there.
This is the best one.
I was going to say, the other
this is the best one.
I meant first one,
We have those shows for sure.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about external services that you can use to kind of talk to WordPress. So, you can log into the WordPress dashboard directly and just interact with it, directly into there. But there's also other ways to do this as well. The one that comes to mind, because George isn't here and, we're kind of obligated to mention it, is Jetpack has a thing called Jetpack Manage that you could actually use to kind of manage your WordPress site. That are self-hosted websites that you can be able to just interact with those and be able to mess with them. So there's other ones out there as well, and I wanted to talk about those, but I wanted to mention that.
Obligation fulfilled.
Yep, that's it.
So this,
George,
this is actually something that I talked about at WordCamp San Diego, was the many different ways on how to connect to different things, updating plugins and core and stuff like that. And Jason, you were there.
Yep.
You were there, and you were there.
So, in the chat, Jason Cosper, you mentioned one. What you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah. So I am. I've used pretty much every one of the services out there. InfiniteWP, ManageWP. There's a whole litany of them. I'm sure we're going to discuss most of them. And basically, one that I've kind of settled on for my main sites is IThemes Sync. I like Sync from iThemes. It is super basic, gives you a way to quickly update your plugins, themes, integrates with, if you're using Backup Buddy, you can kick off backups and interact with Stash. Install plugins and themes. It doesn't do a lot of the larger scale management that some of these other ones do, where it allows you to work with at least the basic package, the free, or knowledge. Doesn't allow you to like manage comments or anything like that. However, really, when it comes to managing sites for me, in a lot of cases, it just comes down to making sure and handling that quickly and efficiently. And Sync allows me to get in and out without having to sweat that.
I
The
will
key
give
word
a
of what
plus
you
one.
said cut out
I was
there.
going to give a +1 for IThemes Sync as well. I think the interface is really great and easy to use. It's simple, and I can tell you, I know the iThemes guys, and I have had to deal with them. I know them from a personal level. I had to deal with them from at a business level, and they're great on the customer support side.
I was just going to say, I don't think Corey Miller would describe it as basic and simple, but
I wasn't going to. I didn't mean that. Yeah, I didn't mean that the technology was basic and simple. I just meant that the interface is easy to use.
Yeah, it was something that Cosper said. I was to say, I don't think Corey Miller would describe it that way.
When you compare it to something like InfiniteWP that allows you to install like just a whole litany of extensions, plugins, things that will allow you to manage multiple WordPress sites in a whole ton of ways, it is probably the most pared back, but it still allows you to do so much with your sites that really it's just kind of the best tool for the job for me.
So that brings up an interesting thing. I use InfiniteWP, and I've used it since the very beginning. Because I got a lifetime license of it, which is no longer available, but certainly kept me stuck to it for a really long time. And you're right, it does have a bunch of add-ons that you can install. I find that the features that I use are really backups, plugin updates, core updates. It has a whole bunch of features that do other things that I don't really care about. They do SEO analysis, Google Analytics integration. We actually use the malware security scan, but that's just repurposing Security's site check API. So I'm curious for you guys using IThemes Sync, which I've heard good things about, what key features do you think you need in a remote management tool? Anybody have an opinion?
Updates is, obviously, if you can have a good set of updates, that's obviously the best one there. But I think the one thing about updates is that you need to be able to roll back to the previous known good state if that's the case, which something like ManageWP does, only if you're paying for their backups. So if you're using their full term backups.
Is the one that got acquired by GoDaddy now, right?
Yeah.
So you can still use on sites off of GoDaddy, but it's
So with ManageWP, Jason, it does give you one free monthly backup that you can restore to right away. If you want to restore daily or weekly or whatever, then you do have to pay for that. And
But the thing is it's the backups that get updated. So when you do the updates. So when you update your website and say like, I want to update all these plugins, and you turn all those on, say go and do an update. It's going to do like a sanity check to make sure, hey, this actually did update and we're good and we don't have to restore back. So I think that's the main thing that most basic users are going to need, is something where it's like, is it okay for me to do these updates and can I actually update them? But the thing is most people aren't going to be, that are like basic users, cat blog users, they're not managing multiple cat blogs here. It's the people like us that are trying to manage multiple sites for people.
That's actually something ManageWP does now. Is it's called a safe update, and it will actually give you that comparison. It will show you the differences between like certain pages and stuff to see if that update is going to break anything.
Yeah, it's a recent addition.
Cool. Something like that too.
Huh now?
Say again, Robert.
Nathan Porter had something like that too. He demoed it at last year's, or didn't demo it, but he had a booth at last year's WordCamp Orange County. I don't know if it's still around. I think the name was ServerPilot, but I could be making that up. He had little balsa planes. That's all I remember.
And a lot of image optimization stuff like Kraken does that too now, where it shows you the differences in images and stuff. Like I think it's kind of cool.
Joe, what were you going to say?
I was just talking about ManageWP and their safe updates. So when the issue most people run into is when they make updates via third-party software, maybe break something, but now ManageWP has a safe updates mode, so you can see the exact before and after images of different pages, and it helps a lot with management. And in terms of kind of what you were saying, Steve, about simplicity, when you have especially when you have a team working on with these tools, it's really important to have these really simple tools that work. You know, you don't have to do a lot of training. You don't have to, you know, do as much onboarding. It really kind of works itself. And so you don't have to worry about as much of that.
Agreed. The less training, the better. And I want to reiterate something that all three of you have said is that the critical part of a backup is not the backing up, it's the restore, right? So you can anybody can back up, but if you can't restore from the backup, you're hosed.
Yeah, 100%.
And so if you do install a backup tool, or if any of these things that you're considering include a backup, test a restore.
Yeah, ManageWP has that one-click restore, and it is, I mean, it's magic. You know, you click it and it's restored. And I'm sure MainWP and a lot of these tools have the same thing, but I just know from experience that, you know, and having that comfort in ManageWP, knowing I can click that one-click restore and having it, you know, revert back to 6 hours ago is makes me.
And I say this. I'm sorry. Hang on one second, Russ. I say this because these SaaS products, you know, a lot of them we can trust they work, especially the ones that we've mentioned on this call so far. They work, but there are plugins that do similar things, and there are a lot of backup plugins. Not all plugins are created equally, so not all of those restores work every time.
What I was going to say is usually what I do before I restore something is you can actually download that backup, and then I install it locally, and it gives you the SQL file from that day, and it gives you all the plugins and stuff, and then you can go test it locally just to make sure that's the actual one you want. And that's what I love about ManageWP is it keeps those backups for like 60 or 90 days or something like that. It's very useful in that sense.
And I think what you have to look at is what is actually being backed up, right? So I've seen backup tools that will back up the whole site images and database as one file, and then I've seen tools that will separate them out. And those are typically the tools I prefer, right? Ones that will separate out images, code, and database as separate pieces, because I may only want to back up one piece, or if you've got a site with gigabytes worth of images, right, then downloading that restore, you've got to download all of those images as that one big zip file, and that either becomes a pain in the ass, or it could render the restore non-functional anymore, right? Well, because you've got so many images that you're trying to
that's actually one cool thing about ManageWP is you can actually, when you create the backup, you can say only backup, you know, WP content, WP includes, and like, so if you have a customer that has a bunch of directories for downloads and videos, you can exclude those, and it will A, speed up that process, and B, when you do restore, it's not going to take, you know, 200 things because you have to do a 10 gig video. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of always been the case. The hardest thing in remote site management has always been backups, because it's really easy to back up a small, simple site. But as soon as you start getting into various server configurations and weird things like 500 megabyte video files or bigger zip files, you know, large files, sites, some of the sites that we manage through InfiniteWP are 100 gigabyte sites. There's just no way to run a regular backup of that of the entire site. That'd be insanity. So we do have tools to kind of parse them off, only backing up like this year's uploads folder, only backing up content like database in this year's uploads folder or something like that, to make that continue to work as a kind of regular daily backup. It kind of begs. What about like what? Oh. I was just to say it's one of those reasons that even when we have a remote management tool like InfiniteWP, we've also used ManageWP and IThemes Site Sync and WP Remote, and I know I'm forgetting the other one. There's too many out there. The hosting-based backups are just way better and more reliable. Like our WP Engine, Liquid Web, even GoDaddy backups, like those don't fail the way that our remote backup plugins do, at least not as much on large sites. So we use it kind of as a belt and suspenders thing. We tend to rely on both.
What about white label reporting of you know, different things? If you're trying to show off the fact that, oh yeah, we do look at your site, and yes, we do look at all the things. Here's all the updates that you had. Here's how many people went to your website. Analytics-wise, here's some code changes we maybe did. I mean, all these sorts of white label reports. Do you guys do any of those using these tools?
So we do with ManageWP. We actually, if a client will request something like, "Hey, can you show us what you've updated in the last 30 days," or do a custom report, ManageWP will actually let us run that and then download it as a PDF or a CSV file, and then we can shoot that over, and it keeps that current history of what's been done. But the only drawback is if you go into your WordPress dashboard and update it, ManageWP is not going to record that. It's only recording what you do in their dashboard.
Through it.
Right.
Yeah. And that's true with a lot of them. If you just do it on your own, it won't record it. So MainWP, which is my choice, has that same sort of thing. It's an add-on that you have to buy, but it allows for client reports as well, and it tracks different things like even admin logins, that sort of thing, as well as plugin updates, theme update, core update, that sort of thing. So
one thing that I do like about ManageWP is it will show you who ran the update. So, you can see that 15 different people have been running updates for the last 30 days or whatever, and it will actually show you who did that. So it's one thing where it's like, hey, you went and updated this and the client reported the site broke. We need to go look at this. It's something like that that just, it drills down on who did what, on when, and how to fix it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, another.
And a lot of these are hosted. A lot of these are hosted products, right? Right, Joe? Being able to have either hosted, or have them locally hosted, or have it just like an application that you run. What were you going to say, Joe? Sorry about that.
No worries. I was just going to say another nice thing about ManageWP is that in addition to having those white label reports, you can also white label the plugin itself. So the way ManageWP connects to websites, you install this worker plugin, and you can connect to ManageWP that way to sync the two up. And you can also white label that plugin as well, and that's really nice to be able to have kind of a plugin that has either your company's name on it or whatever you want it to say. Just another layer of trust you can build with clients who are in the dashboard a lot.
Yeah, it's worth noting. I started with ManageWP and really liked it, but the pricing model on InfiniteWP was better for long-term use because it was a one-time fee for me. And ManageWP's pricing was never quite what I had hoped for back in the day. But we're going back like 6-7 years when it was launched, and it kind of becomes an issue. Some of these services are free for a site or two, and then some of them get pretty expensive when you talk about needing a full feature set across 50 or 100 sites.
Yeah, I've heard that, John, actually, from people between those two services. So I've heard that a lot. ManageWP does have like a bundled service, so if you hit a certain point, it'll just recommend go to our bundled service. You get 100 or 200 installs for the same price, but it is a monthly cost. So I see what you're saying about the one-time cost maybe being more effective for
if you're making money. If you're making money off of selling services, maintenance services, things like that, it's I'm sure it's a cost that's justified. But in my case, like going back to the white labeling, I don't white label, or I don't need to white label anything because I'm just maintaining my own sites mostly. Maybe a couple friend sites, something like that. They don't need to see reports from me. They don't need to see anything like that. We don't need to worry about white labeling. But I mean, a lot of it comes down to just does your business depend on it? And if that is something that is worthwhile for you, I actually installed and liked InfiniteWP. I was running into some server resource issues and didn't want to have to keep bumping up the amount of RAM I needed to dedicate to like the more and more sites that I was like, oh yeah, I can make sure that your plugins get updated for like friend sites and stuff like that. So yeah, that was my only real gripe, is because of InfiniteWP, you have to install it on a server. And you can end up with the bottleneck. Same thing with MainWP, right? Isn't that under just a standard WordPress install?
You can actually hook MainWP up to a local install as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about MainWP is it's a WordPress plugin. So everything we know and love about WordPress, MainWP has. The other ones it may or may not have. And yeah, you can run MainWP, and you can probably run InfiniteWP off of a local install. I myself have it hosted out in the world, so I can access it anywhere. But
yeah, I mean, InfiniteWP, going back to the cost issue, like it was a one-time cost of $400 or $500. but I've used it for 5 years, right? If I was paying a monthly service fee like ManageWP, where they host it, I'd be paying $50 a month for 5 years. It's significantly more expensive. We sell that.
I'm very
service
good
to
at
our
math.
clients.
Wait, let me work that out.
Yeah, you carry the one.
Yeah, all right.
17.
I understand.
I mean,
just for the record,
it results in way more profit for us and a lower cost of running it. So there is a significant price difference there between a one-time thing and an ongoing service.
And a lot of
both
them have
are justifiable, but
Say.
Go for it, say.
InfiniteWP on the 5th, they're actually launching a beta version of a new program, a new plugin called WP Time Capsule.
I think that already
It's
launched.
on a
It was like
repo.
last month.
Yeah,
What does it
the
do?
Time Capsule is from
Has that been
someone else. Yeah, it's been around for a minute. It's a really good backup solution. I
I'm
guess.
I think
confused.
there might be 2 things called Time Capsule now, but I'm pretty sure that InfiniteWP's version of Time Capsule launched last month.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe it just pre-launched in March.
But I was gonna say also the thing is, so I deal with a lot of small clients. We're always talking about that, but I do get a lot of people also who manage other people's sites, and I think that this type of management system is one of the most important things you can do if you are managing other people's sites, because it allows you to manage the site without having all of their stuff or having to log into their stuff. And in addition to the reports and whatnot, you can maintain kind of that separation, which means you can, turn the keys back over to them at any time. But also it keeps everything documented, like you guys were saying. So in terms of protecting yourself, it's very important when you're doing that.
It's also one of those things, though, where you don't have to give somebody your username and password or an admin, or they don't even have to make an admin on the site. They just got to connect that plugin to the dashboard, whatever, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and I think it's that type of protection that is really useful for both the client whose site is being managed and the person managing the site. I think that's one of the best possible scenarios.
Even if you have more than 3 sites, it's like of your own personal sites, even if you're not managing sites for other people, just the time that it saves to be able to go to one dashboard, see your updates, see your theme plugin updates, all that stuff, be able to kick off backups for all your sites if you want to, have a service that handles kicking off backups at particular times for you. That, I mean, it could be worth the 6 or 8 or whatever that ManageWP costs, like per. I'm not even sure what their pricing is anymore, but I mean, these services are worthwhile for any level once you start getting into having like multiple WordPress sites.
Yeah, I'm going to add there. I love being able to go into InfiniteWP and see all my plugin updates and theme updates across 50 plus sites. That is priceless. That's huge. One thing that we thought we would use it for that I never have is logging into those sites, so it does like a one-click login thing because it's authenticated through a plugin the same way ManageWP is. In fact, the ManageWP Worker plugin, the InfiniteWP Worker plugin, or Infinite forked ManageWP's code, I think, at some point, or reused a lot of it. But like, you never work that way in your head. It's never like, let me go to the dashboard to log into a site. You just go straight to the site, right? I think some people might find that useful. I just never did.
Well,
I've used that before.
It also recognizes whatever the URL is too. So like if it's not WP admin or WP login and you have a custom URL to log in, it will actually kick over to that and log you straight in. So you don't have to guess or do anything like that.
Yeah, I think the big thing to talk about as well when you're talking about these third-party tools is for people who are providing services like maintenance, ongoing support, is that you can scale service without scaling time, right? You can spend less time managing more websites, which is really valuable for anybody who's a startup or a small business. So yeah, I think that's a key point as well.
So because of
those migrations too.
Because of services like this, we actually came out with a plugin called Maintainn Tools. And so essentially our plugin just, it does many things, but one of the features is we can lock a plugin to say don't update it. So when you sign up for our services, we actually have a questionnaire on a thing that says, are there any plugins or themes you don't want us to touch? And if they say, yeah, we'll turn our plugin on and we'll, say, don't update this plugin. And then when I'm in ManageWP, and even if I check the website and all the plugins, it will still fail to update that one because we have it locked. And because of services like this, and because clients have, specific needs sometimes, tools like that really help when it comes to managing large scales at a fast pace.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know ManageWP has the ability to turn off plugin updates for a site or theme updates for a site, but I don't think it has the ability to do it for individual plugins or individual themes. That's a cool feature.
And there's other plugins that will do that. That will say, don't update this or whatever. But we just kind of built our own internal thing that we use anyways, and we just kind of hooked that into there.
Is the call to action actually don't update this or whatever?
It's
That's
actually
weird.
It's actually called "Don't Pull a Zengit." That's what it's called.
Nice. And I think we can all agree nobody wants to pull a Zengit.
Yeah. So why? Yeah.
That's kind of where I was.
Why I love ManageWP is when we made that switch, we had our own internal dashboard. And ManageWP let us delete that dashboard from every site that we had it installed. And then we could actually upload our own zip, and it would go and install and activate that plugin. So I didn't have to log in or FTP to all 500 of our client sites. I did it in one shot. And for a tool like that, I'm very grateful for it. And I think it kind of justifies paying the monthly service. And just to be fair, I don't pay it. WebDev does. So it's fine.
That's cool. I was hoping that we would go around the room here and start talking about all the various tools that we're using, and I'm glad that we were able to accomplish that and kind of just go through a whole list of these, and folks can go take a look at them. The thing is with all these products is each one of them has their own specialty that they've really focused on, but all their pricing is relatively the same. You start looking at some of these pricings where in the chat we've been talking about this, where like InfiniteWP may show up as like $600 and something a year, but you divide that by 12 and you're kind of like, it's like $50-$60, not that big of a deal per month. And you look at these other ones, you're like, oh, this is this much. Oh, well, roughly it's right around the same. So all these guys are trying to be competitive. They're all trying to make sure that, that you're going to look at their products and see which one's going to work best for you. Play around with a couple of them, figure out which one's best, and maybe ask a developer that works around you at a meetup or something, hey, what are you using?
Also, there is something to be said for the fact that all of these organizations have all been really involved in the community. You see them at all sorts of WordCamps. You see them out there. So they're really connected to the community. They're not like out there doing some stuff. I'm obviously partial to the more locally owned independent ones. So, when they get bought out by giant companies, I'm like, well, let's jump ship. But even that company that I'm talking about is connected to the WordPress community. So I think that's just something that's really important. IThemes and InfiniteWP both have been around for a really long time and are involved. So I think
and their products are just getting better and better. Yeah, better and better.
They're not just selling it. They use it for their own clients. And so they are not just selling to us. They're also upgrading and developing because they understand what's going on and they're connected to core and the community. So it's important, I think.
Awesome. Well, that's about it for today, folks. Thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com. Click on the links there to subscribe. And if you wanted to learn more about any of us, make sure you go click on the little links for each of the people that are on there, and you can go to our websites and take a look at our gravatars and all the cool stuff we do in WordPress. So thank you all very much for being on the show and hanging out with us. Talk to you all later. Hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe. See ya.
Bye.